Hello, welcome here to Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So, we're back with a series that we've been running for the month of July. My 31 favorite albums that introduced me to these bands. So, for those of you who don't know what this is about, so basically, I've picked 31 albums that launched the career of this band for me. Now, they're not necessarily their first albums, they're not necessarily my favorite albums, but they were, the album was the launch pad for the groups. And I say that because I have other bands that I've listened to for years, and the first album I got from them wasn't necessarily a launch pad because I already was listening to them going into that. I just didn't own anything by them. But this band doesn't fit that. I had heard of them, of course. My friend was pretty high on their live album at the time. So I went out and they didn't have the live album, which was the one I set out to get. So I ended up buying this one because it had the song on it that I knew from the live album. And it introduced me to this band, which I grew for that short period of time in the early 80s, the 80s through about 83. This was one of my favorite bands. Cheap Trick and the album Heaven Tonight. Many people know the song Surrender. That's one of their big hits. It's on this album. But the more known version of the song, of course, is on Live at Budokan, which is also a big album for them. So this is an album, if I go back to Cheap Trick, this is usually the album I go back to. Yes, I did love Dream Police. Great album, but this is the one that I always come back to. This was actually released in 1978. I, however, didn't get into Cheap Trick until I think I was 16 when that happened. So it would have been 1980. So I think this was the first one I got, and it was in the summer of 1980. So the album was already a year and a half or 2 years old at the time. But absolutely killer album. It's got that kind of 50-ish flavor to it. Yeah, there's a little bit of that 50-ish flavor to it, but it has the big song. Like obviously, the big song on here is "Surrender." That was the one that I actually won a T-shirt at a karaoke contest singing that song. So that's why it's so memorable for me. But it also has like some really strong stuff on here. Vida Zay is on here, absolutely killer tune. Stiff Competition, another really heavy classic kind of 50-ish rockin' song. California Man, another great one. On Top of the World, this is a really good deep cut. You got, of course, How Are You, and just really solid rock and roll album. And then, of course, you got the other two guys for the band is on the back of the album here. This is a really solid album, introducing me to this band probably in 1980. They, at that point in time, I believe they had or were touring with Kiss for that summer. I'm not 100% sure of that, but I think that's what I recall. Yeah, and this album got a lot of airplay, but their Dream Police album got even more airplay. And of course, Live at Budokan was a master blaster. So, yeah, but this one has always kind of remained my favorite of them, the favorite of the albums. There's just something about it that's really captivating for me, launching these guys. And I still listen to these guys. I have other albums by them as well, but this is the main one I usually go to. And the big thing with this band is that they've pretty much maintained fairly regularly touring and making albums, although they did get rid of their drummer at some point, which was a big controversy as well. And I think Tom Peterson actually left the band briefly or for a while, but came back. So 3 of the original 4 are still in the band, and still to my knowledge, they're still doing stuff. They're still making stuff. They're still out there doing stuff. I haven't followed them much over the last 2 or 3 decades, but you never know. Could go back to that. It's a style of music that I really enjoyed then, not so much now, but I do like it. I would call this power pop. So that launched Cheap Trick for me, and they've been on my radar since then. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode. This is episode number 4. This is pick number 28 on July 4th. And we'll be back again on tomorrow with pick number 5. I hope you've liked this episode. If you have, please hit like and subscribe, and don't forget to make your comments and hit the notification bell. And we will see you tomorrow with pick number 5 on the 5th of July. Take care and have a good one. Bye.